On the ice, a trailblazing season is now in the books for the Professional Women's Hockey League. We've brought you all of the highlights from the inaugural draft back in September to the first puck drop in January, and now a perfect ending, the crowning of the league's first ever champion last night in a winner-take-all Game 5 final.
A milestone here in the inaugural season. Team that was the lowest ranked heading into the playoffs. They were able to do the unthinkable and beat the favorites in Toronto. Point Schofield, an empty net. The captain seals the deal.
There it was, Minnesota's captain, Kendall Coyne Schofield, showing her famous speed and popping that into the empty net. Minnesota beating Boston 3-0, and the celebrations were on. Minnesota, the first ever winner of the Walter Cup. An absolutely monumental moment last night in Lowell, Massachusetts. And Carissa Donkin is covering things for CBC Sports. We saw there, she wears the C, Kendall Coyne Schofield, Carissa. There she was, the very first person ever to hoist the Walter Cup. Talk about the moment and the significance of that and the win last night.
Yeah, Heather, I really think there's some poetry to Kendall Coyne Schofield being, getting that empty net goal as we saw, and then being the very first person to hoist that trophy. So it was about 5 years ago that Kendall Coyne Schofield picked up the phone and made a phone call to Billie Jean King and Alana Kloss after a previous league folded. And she wanted to create something new, a new league that would be sustainable and that would pay players a living wage. And fast forward 5 years later, she's the first person to hoist the cup. And she also gave birth just about 10 months ago and had to work so hard to come back to the ice this season. Here's what she had to say about her team season.
There's something very special about being the first to do something in life. And for us to be the first Walter Cup champions is something that is extremely special, that will be a part of this league's legacy forever. I've been a part of a lot of teams that have won and that haven't won, and for whatever reason, you remember the teams that win.
You can see the excitement there, Heather, when the Walter Cup appears beside her. But, you and I have been talking about how this is a new era for women's hockey for a few months now, going back to that draft in September that was held in the CBC atrium. But it really did feel like that last night, just seeing all the people who worked so hard to put this league together and the players that have dreamed of this moment for so long.
It really was. What a thrill, and it couldn't have ended any better. Jana Hefford and I were talking about that yesterday, Carissa, about how to have a Game 5, go to Game 5 was really just sort of the capper. So give us a little bit of the game highlights and before the scenes of celebration, I guess. How did Minnesota win it, Carissa?
Yeah, well, this was almost all over on Sunday. It looked like Minnesota scored back then, and they started celebrating as if they'd won the championship. The gloves go flying, the sticks go flying, all of that. And then the goal was disallowed and they had to kind of reset. Boston scored, and that got us, to the deciding Game 5. But this time they got to celebrate for real. We heard from playoff MVP Taylor Heisey, who said having that victory taken away is one of the worst things she's ever experienced. The team could have come out feeling quite deflated after that, but it was really the opposite, Heather. They came out flying. Erin Frankel, the goaltender for Boston, she had a phenomenal performance, saved 41 of the 43 shots that she faced. But ultimately, it was Liz Shepard's very first professional women's hockey league goal that stood up as the winner, and they got to actually celebrate for real this time.
Fantastic. Okay, so next season, it's going to be even bigger and better in the PWHL. What's happening next season and in the off season to get us ready for year 2?
Yeah, we're looking at a bit of a longer season next year. So it's going to start sometime at the end of 2024. We don't have an exact date yet, but we're looking at a 30-game regular season, Heather. And before we get to that point, there's lots going on in the off season. There's a draft coming up on June 10th in Minnesota. That's going to be a 7-round draft. We're going to see free agency open on June 21st. That's going to be big because a lot of these players are on one-year contracts. So there's going to be quite a bit of player movement. And then later in the summer, something's happening that I know a lot of people are going to be excited about. We're going to see names and logos. So we're going to get some branding for these teams.